The ragdoll's whisper of one shard kept by the dark itself. Another was stolen by the greedy moon bird up in the hilltops. The last one, perhaps the cowardly head knows. The heads betrayed us bodies, but not before we had betrayed ourselves. Fire in fist. The shards of fire. They must be restored to the cave. We hunted the Morgrims, took their fire, and with it, we set ourselves ablaze. The shards of that very fire must be returned to the Morgrim's lair. Somebody find the shards, mend the cauldron. Otherwise, we and thou art forever doomed to madness, to be fettered to the clay and mud. The ragdoll's whisper of one shard kept by the dark itself. Another was stolen by the greedy moon bird up in the hilltops. The last one, perhaps the cowardly head knows. The heads betrayed us bodies, but not before we had betrayed ourselves. Fire in fist. The shards of fire. They must be restored to the cave. We hunted the Morgrims, took their fire, and with it, we set ourselves ablaze. The shards of that very fire must be returned to the Morgrim's lair.
Good evening. Or is it morning or afternoon? Hard to tell without a sun, isn't it? No, it is most certainly night, or moonbirds hooting wouldn't make sense at all. Speaking of sense, will you help an old bird find some in this story? Fire up these dusty murals in the right order, and you will receive a present, a little gift. 50s. Bring the fire to the story. The valley was taken, but then began the battle of the bodies. Intriguing. And as the heads roll, the time of the Milgram begins anew. Peace ended when the violent sun bodies invaded the valley. The battle ended with a great, gruesome beheading. Didn't make no sense again. Once upon a time, the Milgrams lived in peace. The valley was taken, but then began the battle of the bodies. Intriguing. Peace ended when the violent sun bodies invaded the valley. The battle ended with a great, gruesome beheading. I'm growing impatient and hungry. Try a different order. The valley was taken, but then began the battle of the bodies. Intriguing. Once upon a time, the Milgrams lived in peace. And as they lived, the battle ended. That ain't edible. The story needs to be just right. Once upon a time, the Milgrams lived in peace. The valley was taken, but then began the battle. The battle ended with a great, gruesome beheading. Peace ended with a vow. To try again. Once upon a time, the Milgrams lived in peace. The valley was taken, but then began the battle of the bodies. Intriguing. The battle battle ended with a great, gruesome beheading. Peace ended when the violent somebodies invaded the valley. That's not the way the story blows. Once upon a time, the Mulgrims lived in peace. Peace ended when the violent somebodies invaded the valley. The valley was taken, but then began the Battle of the Bodies. Intriguing. The battle ended with a great, gruesome beheading. For time immemorial, the Mulgrims had lived in the valley in peace, sharing good eatings and howlings around their fire, which they had inherited from the skies. Then one terrible night came the violent somebodies. They hunted the Mulgrims for sport and took their fire for themselves. But the somebodies knew not what they were dealing with, for as soon as they held the fire in their grubby hands, they began to fight one another with it. To save themselves from themselves, the cunning heads turned on their bodies and organized a great beheading. And so it was that somebodies became nobodies, and the bodies were exiled. A time of peace ensue, or so the headlings thought. The last living Mulgrim had been biding her time, and saw now an opportunity to return and take bloody vengeance upon the heads, who were now left defenseless without their bodies. The time of the Mulgrim begins anew. A storied meal indeed. Moonbird thanks you for feeding her and proudly upholds the promise. A gift. A shard from the Mulgrim's own cauldron. It looked so shiny in the moonlight. Moonbird simply had to take it. For now, she'll see you in the light.
never been much for company until she had met the other one. He had shimmering scales, an appetite for life, and carried a faint scent of rotting leaves she found irresistible. Oh, how they used to laugh at the distant stars, bitterly, together.
The howls of the Mulgrim have gone with the wind, and our headaches settled into gentle throbbing. Thank you, somebody, for you have not only graciously saved our necks, but also demonstrated the value of brain mass and heart blob working together. Would it be time for the bodies to return? We must convene on this matter, and you and your wandering flame must now leave through our gates and keep on walking the midnight walk to Moon Mountain.
Moon Mountain!
Here you go, somebody. This key will open the town gates. Blech. The mountain once again beckons, and the call is answered. Fare thee well, and take good care of your flame. The dark itself is hungry. The body can be a wonderful servant, but a terrible master.
I think this body business will be good for us heads in the long run.
The bodies might be oh, you gotta be a somebody. Before you become nobody. Somebody again. Man. I've had enough. First it was the big Mulgrim hunt, and then they forced us out into that maker-forgiven swamp. I hate hiking. And then when we had nothing left to hunt, we started fighting each other. And then Mr. Mayor gets this grand idea that we should chop our own heads off and banish our bodies. How does that even scientifically work? I've had enough of civilization.
Oh, back from a little swamp detour, huh? Hope the heads didn't give you too much trouble. At least your head looks attached to its shoulders and your friend's is, well, burning. So do not despair. Should you once again lose your way along the midnight walk, you're probably meant to. The body can be a terrible master, but a wonderful servant. Protect the spark. Find its home, won't you? See down the road. I guess you gotta lose your head before you can. No, there's nothing there. I gotta workshop this one some more. You better get going. House is restless, and I'm feeling a song shaking in my boots. Things don't have to make sense to make sense.
We Malgrims have a special relationship with fire. We do not cook over it. We do not shed tales around it. We care not for its warmth. Ours is a different connection entirely. Fire is our window to truth and into the world beyond clay, to which we must return. We are noble beings, bringers of bugs, slime, and mushrooms to help decompose the old and to bring about the new. We are the caretakers of this world, and woe be to those who seek to end us, for they seek to end themselves.
Dreadful was the day when the sun vanished. The waters dried up, birds went quiet, and the dark itself seeped unchecked into the work table as the cold, chewed paper moon rose over the mountain. The night that followed would be long as the midnight walk. The burnt one was there. You do not remember, but you feel it, don't you? You are reborn when need arises. This night, Port Boy needs you, and Moon Mountain beckons. Its call irresistible. A storm is coming. The soothsayers have spoken. I had a flame once. It was beautiful and bright. It spread its light, brought me and my neighbors warmth. and it was always hungry. No matter how much I fed it, it kept on growing and growing. And one day it got big enough to start walking the long road. I didn't guide it. It dragged me along for the ride. I followed it for a long time. Would the road ever end? What was the point of the walk? Things kind of spiraled. Road took me on dangerous detours that didn't make sense. Before I knew it, my flame began to fade until well, I don't think I was meant to carry this flame.
Was the sun. Where its warm rays should have been there was only the vast night sky, not a star on its face. Well, the Merkel mumbled softly to herself, winter was late, so... The Merkel had taken a nap that had lasted 2 decades. Now that counts as oversleeping even by Merkel standards. Time, feeling misplaced and confused. The confusion grew further into panic when she was greeted not by the sun's life-giving kren, by the silently mocking night sky.